So what are the most underrated suburbs in the Seattle, Washington area? Well, in this video, I'm gonna break it all down for you, so stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe here and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of my future videos on what it's like living over here in the Seattle metropolitan area. People just like yourself reach out to me here from YouTube all the time when they're moving over here looking to buy a home in Seattle Metro and need some help through that process. I am an active real estate agent over here, so would be happy to help you out. You can contact me here at my info on the screen. But like I said, on today's video, I'm going to talk about some of the most underrated suburbs here in the Seattle metropolitan area. Now, I have made multiple videos on all sorts of different suburbs around here on my channel. I've yet to make one on some of the most underrated suburbs, and by underrated, I just mean they don't get talked about all that much. You know, the Seattle metropolitan area has over 60 different suburbs, cities, towns around here, so it's a very large area. When you're starting your research, you're starting your search on moving over here, there are so many different factors and places that you need to consider, and it can get overwhelming. And these 5 suburbs I have here on this list are some that get overlooked. People, don't really consider them as much, and they are some nice places to live in, places that you might want to consider. So I'm going to break them down here for you, starting off with Mukilteo. So Mukilteo is about 22 miles north of Seattle. What's great about Mukilteo is it's on the Puget Sound, so there are some beautiful views on Mukilteo here. There's great access to the beach and recreation down there. Now, the population in Mukilteo is just over 21,000, while the median home price is just over 1.15 million. Now, of course, yes, this is pretty expensive, especially if you're coming from another state not named California. I'm sure this is sticker shock to you, but that's just the way it goes around here. There are a lot of expensive places to live. Now, there's plenty of places with median home prices a lot less than 1.15 million, but the reason that Mukilteo does have a median price point at 1.15 is because it's a very pleasant place to live. I mentioned the quick access to the Puget Sound. You can go down there to Mukilteo Beach. They've got the Lighthouse Park there. They've got beach volleyball and picnic shelters and barbecues. There's a couple really nice restaurants down there. You've got Ivar's, so great seafood if you want to try some seafood down there. They've also got Diamond Knot Brewery down there, which is another great place to eat that we've been on multiple occasions. So it's a really cool place to go down, spend a nice summer day. I spent a lot of time as a kid down there, and so it's very beautiful and quite enjoyable to go down there and spend a day. Along with that, with being so close to the water in Mukilteo, you do have some view homes. So as you go up the hill away from the Sound, you've got a lot of neighborhoods up in there, and some of the homes will have views of the Puget Sound. So if you're somebody that's looking for a house when they're coming over here, and an absolute must for you is to have a Puget Sound view and live in a nice neighborhood, put Mukilteo on your list. It's a very, very great place to kind of check those boxes. Now, in Mukilteo, there's not going to be as much new construction. So when people reach out to me here all the time, a lot of time they're coming from places like Texas or some of these areas where all the neighborhoods are pretty new. All the homes look pretty similar. When you come over here to the Seattle metro area, it's a much older area. So you're gonna have a lot of older homes. You're gonna have a wide mix and wide variety of types of homes and architecture styles within the same neighborhood. A lot of these areas you can drive in the neighborhood and it's not gonna be like a new construction neighborhood where every house looks the same, it's cookie cutter. There are so many different types and styles of homes in here, specifically in Mukilteo. Because it is on the west side, it's closer to the water. There's a lot of 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s homes here in the Mukilteo area. So it's giving you some more unique options and homes with a lot more character than some of these stale modern builds. So if you're somebody that's looking for new construction, this might not be the best place for you. There will be some options where somebody has gone into an older home, tore it down to the studs and completely renovated it, or just completely tore the home down entirely and built a new home on that lot. But other than that, you're not gonna get as many, large new construction developments here in the Mukilteo area. Now, one thing that also attracts people to Mukilteo is the school district. You can look at all the school district rating sites. It's got one of the top rated school districts in the north side of Seattle area. So that's another great thing that attracts people to Mukilteo. Two more things I'll say about Mukilteo here. I forgot to mention down in the waterfront at the beach, you've got the ferry. So if you want to take a little day trip, that ferry will take you over to Whidbey Island, and there's some cool things to do over there if you do want to take a day trip. As well here, close to Mukilteo, you've got Painfield, and Painfield is an Everett here, an airport here in the Everett-Mukilteo area that has recently, within the last few years, opened up for commercial flights. So if you're flying to one of the larger, west side, western United States cities, you no longer have to go down to SeaTac, which could be an hour to an hour and a half plus drive down to SeaTac in heavy traffic times from Mukilteo. You can now just go right down the street to Painfield. You can fly to Vegas, you can fly to Los Angeles, you can fly to Boise, all different spots you can fly out of here at the Painfield Airport, so it can save you a lot of time and convenience when you're living up here on the north side. All right, city number 2 I'm going to talk about here is Mill Creek. So Mill Creek is about 21 miles north of Seattle. It's set on the east side though. We just talked about Mukilteo, which is on the west side. Relatively same, distance from Seattle, 21 miles from Mill Creek here, but it's much further east along the 405 freeway. Similar to Mukilteo, population is just over 20,000, median home price is still right around 1.15 million. So you've got some of those same characteristics as the Mukilteo area, but what's very different about Mill Creek is, for one, it's not on the water, so you don't have that quick access to the Puget Sound or those views. What's very different is Mill Creek is a much newer city. There's a lot more new construction in this area. You'll find a lot of developments with new homes. There's also a lot of condos and townhomes and apartment complexes here in the Mill Creek area. So if you're looking for living situations that don't involve buying a single family home, there's going to be a lot of other options around here in the Mill Creek area. What Mill Creek really has to offer, one of the highlights of Mill Creek, is what's called Mill Creek Town Center. This is a little downtown area with a bunch of shopping and restaurants and hair salons and some doctor's offices and a grocery store. A lot of different things you can do down there. They'll have some events down there at the Mill Creek Town Center in the summertime. So it's a really cool place to, go down and walk around, grab a bite to eat, do whatever they've got to offer down there that weekend. There's also a lot of living options within walking distance of Mill Creek Town Center, which a lot of people really enjoy. They want to be able to walk to their favorite restaurant or go get their hair cut or do all these things, go grocery shopping right there down the street and be able to just walk there, bike there, things like that. So there's a lot around that Mill Creek Town Center. What's also great about Mill Creek is the convenient access to the east side. So the east side we refer to as Kirkland, Redmond, Woodinville, and Bellevue. These are some of the areas with some of the largest tech companies in this area, like Microsoft and Facebook, Amazon, Google. They all have offices here on the east side. So there's a lot of people that come over here and take a job. Now, a lot of people, instead of buying a home in those specific cities, which have median home prices of 1.6, 1.7 million, they come up further to Mill Creek and they get a lot more bang for their buck. Like I mentioned, median home price is 1.15. Compare that to the Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland areas with median prices closer to 1.6. You get a lot more for your money, and it's still a relatively convenient commute. You're gonna have, of course, a little bit longer of a commute, but it's not that bad, and it's worth it for a lot of people to go a little bit further north to get much more bang for your buck, but you're still right along the freeway. You're still right along 405. Jump on the freeway there, get down to work. Not too terrible of a commute. All right, and city number 3 I'm going to talk about here is Lake Stevens. So Lake Stevens is about 35 miles north of Seattle. Population in Lake Stevens is just over 35,000 people. Now, the attractive thing about Lake Stevens is the median home price, which is $772,000 right now. Now, of course, when I'm talking about these median home prices, I'm talking about the time that I'm filming this video, which is June 1st of 2022. Of course, if you watch this down the road, home prices are going to be different, but to give you a relatively good idea of how these home prices actually compare, this will still be applicable if you're watching this video a year, 2 years down the road. You can see the difference between Mukilteo, Mill Creek, and a Lake Stevens. It'll kind of give you that idea, but median home prices here in Lake Stevens, $772 right now, so it gives you a lot more bang for your buck. Now, What's great about Lake Stevens is you're right by the lake. So if you have a boat and you like to go water skiing, wakeboarding, tubing, taking the kids out, you got jet skis, you want to go fishing, you want to go paddleboarding and kayaking and just go swimming. There's lots of different parks around the lake with a dock to go jump off and go swimming, with playgrounds for the kids, with picnic shelters and barbecues, green grassy fields so you can go throw the football or the frisbee, do all sorts of different activities around here in Lake Stevens. So it's a really enjoyable place to live, especially in the summer. Now, Lake Stevens does have a lot of newer homes. It's a very desirable area. There have been a ton of people moving to Lake Stevens recently in the last, 5-ish, 10-ish years. So there has been a ton of new construction going in this area. You can find new construction where you've got a 3 to 4 bedroom home, 1,800 to 3,000 square feet on a tiny lot. So if you're somebody that just is more interested in the home itself and you don't want a large yard, there is a lot of that that's been going in lately. There's also plenty of newer homes that have standard size lots. There's also some options where you can buy a brand new construction home on an acre lot. There's a couple different communities that are offering brand new homes, whether you want a single level home or you want a 2-story home, anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 square feet on a acre property in a really nice, manicured, beautiful community. They offer that in Lake Stevens as well. There's also plenty of older homes, not quite as old as, say, the Mukilteo and a lot of the west side cities, but you've got plenty of homes that were built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s around here. You've got some acreage options, so if you want to come up here and you want a couple acres of property, you can find that in Lake Stevens as well. So there's a wide variety of what's offered here in Lake Stevens, but it's a very desirable area for people to move to. Another reason for that is the school district. When you look at the rating school district sites, you'll see it is a pretty well-rated school district, so it attracts many people because of that. And the great thing about Lake Stevens right now is we finally have a Costco going in. I say we, I recently lived in Lake Stevens, but there is a Costco going in. It's supposed to be done, they say right around Christmas of this year, 2022. So if you're watching this video after, it's probably already done. But instead of having to drive 20-25 minutes to the nearest Costco, you now have a Costco right here in Lake Stevens. So I know a lot of people are pumped about that. All right, city number 4 I'm going to talk about here is Duvall. So Duvall is 26 miles east of Seattle. Population, quite a bit smaller. It's just over 8,000 people. Median home price in Duvall is $1.12 million. And now what's unique about Duvall is you're going to feel like you're living further out. Duvall, like I said, is set pretty far east. So it's a very wooded area. It's very beautiful. So if you like greenery, you want to live in a place, I mean, all of Seattle Metro is very green, but if you want to live in a neighborhood specifically that is just surrounded by, sky-high evergreen trees and just beautiful foliage all around, stays green all year long, you feel like you're living in the woods, but you're not. You still have, plenty of homes nearby. Duvall could be a good option for you to check out. There's also plenty of acreage opportunities in Duvall. I just recently had a client here that reached out to me from YouTube that moved up from California. They bought 10 acres in Duvall with a 2015 custom-built home, and that one went for about $1.5 million. But like I said, median home price here in Duvall is about $1.12. But if you want acreage, you want a larger home, there's plenty of large homes here in the Duvall area, because many of them are on such large lots. Now with Duvall, it's a very smaller town kind of feel. You're not going to have all the great amenities and activities and all that kind of stuff within the Duvall area. You've got some stuff, you've got a few restaurants, you've got a grocery store, which is Safeway, but you're not going to have everything that you need. If you need to go to the doctor's office, you might end up going into a Woodinville or a Redmond. If you want to go to Costco, you're gonna drive elsewhere. Some of your larger things you're gonna have to go elsewhere for. Again, Redmond, Woodinville, not that far, just down the road, 10-15 minutes. So it's not that difficult to get to these other areas. But just so you know, Duvall has a little bit more of a smaller town feel with very few amenities compared to some of the other surrounding suburbs. But that's what you get when you're living a little bit further east and you're living in a very, kind of wooded and very rural in some spots kind of an area. All right, and the last one on my list here, number 5, is Maple Valley. So Maple Valley is 26 miles southeast of Seattle. Population is just over 27,000 people. Now, similar to Lake Stevens, this one's not quite as cheap, but Maple Valley median home price is $890,000 right now. Now, again, you'll see the common theme with cities set further east in the Seattle metro area versus further west. Further east, you have a lot more new construction. Further west is a lot older. So that's a common theme you might want to keep in mind if you're looking for something specific. So Maple Valley is set further east. So there's a lot of new construction that has gone on here in the Maple Valley area in the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of new homes, again, on smaller lots, on standard size lots, and you've even got some on acreage. So there is a good mix of what's offered and what's available here in Maple Valley. But generally speaking, on average, they're going to be a lot newer homes. Of course, there are some older homes in this area, but on average, you're going to see a lot of newer homes in newer neighborhoods here. Now, the attractive thing about Maple Valley is the price point. Like I said, $890,000. If you go just north of Maple Valley to Issaquah or Sammamish, two very, very desirable places to live just north of Maple Valley. Those median prices are closer to 1.5, 1.6 million right now. You go down to Maple Valley, it's $890,000 for median home price. So you can see if you just go a little bit further south how much more you get for your money. And similar like how I talked about Mill Creek, people were moving into Mill Creek when they're taking jobs on the east side. They're working at a Google or a Microsoft, a Facebook, a GoDaddy, Amazon, all these different companies here on the east side. Many people, instead of, they love the Issaquah-Sammamish area and they want to be close, but instead of moving into that area, they go a little bit further south. They sacrifice a little bit, adding on to their daily commute, but they get a lot more for their money here in Maple Valley. So that's a reason why some people make that sacrifice and go a little bit further down, and why this is becoming a very popular and desirable area. Now, also with Maple Valley, and kind of a common theme here on this video, look at those school district rating sites. You'll see Maple Valley has a very well-rated school district. Goodschools.org, niche.org, or niche.com, I think it is. You can check out those school district ratings. It's a great place to go check that out. In terms of things to do and convenience here in Maple Valley, they've got pretty much everything that you're going to need. Multiple grocery stores, a lot of different restaurants and doctor's offices and things like that. They've got Lake Wilderness Park here in Maple Valley. It's a little lake you can go fishing or swimming at. There's a big green grassy field, picnic shelters. Kids can play at the playground. There's all sorts of different stuff to do here at Lake Wilderness. And they've got a big kind of convention center building that you can rent out for events and whatnot. So this can be a pretty popular spot on the weekend on a nice sunny day. But Maple Valley, pretty self-sufficient, a decent amount to offer, and very desirable because of those home prices, beautiful neighborhoods, great schools, relatively, I don't want to say necessarily easy access to the east side because it is a bit of a commute, but there are a lot of people that work on that east side, taking those tech jobs or whatever on that east side, that live in Maple Valley. That way they can get a little bit more for their money and still have a reasonable commute. All right, well, this wraps up my top 5 most underrated cities here in the Seattle metropolitan area. Like I said, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, click the notification so you get notified whenever I put out a new video about Seattle. And I am an active real estate agent over here. So if you're coming over here and you need some help finding that right city and you want to purchase a home over here, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you through that process, make that move and that transition up here a little bit easier for you. Thanks for watching this one.